Hi everyone, it's time for our next devotional. This one is the Sunday for the week that starts on the image of the coins in our devotional Lent in Plain Sight by Jill Duffield. And the text is Mark 12, chapter 13 through 17. Then they sent to Jesus some Pharisees and some Herodians to trap him in what he said. And they came and said to him, "Teacher, we know that you are sincere and show deference to no one. For you do not regard people with partiality, but teach the way of God in accordance with truth. Is it lawful to pay taxes to the emperor or not? Should we pay them or should we not?" But knowing their hypocrisy, Jesus said to them, "Why are you putting me to the test? Bring me a denarius and let me see it." And they brought one. Then he said to them, "Whose head is this and whose title?" They answered, "The emperor's." Jesus said to them, "Give to the emperor the things that are the emperor's, and to God the things that are God's." And they were utterly amazed at him. So this is a passage that, as it happens, I just preached on a couple of Sundays ago. The image on the coin. So this is a group of Herodians who would be followers of Herod. These would be people with lots of political power. And the Pharisees, which isn't always what you would think of as the most normal combination of people. The Pharisees, who are ones that are very concerned with making sure everything's ritually pure and everything's done according to the law. They get sent to try to trap Jesus and his teachings to the crowd. This is a series where there's multiple groups coming in, trying to really come after him and give him a hard time. This is the first of 4 questions asked of Jesus here. He's in Jerusalem, and this is now the last week of his ministry. We're in the days leading up to his crucifixion. So the question they're asking, is it lawful to pay taxes? Now, specifically, the tax they're talking about is a poll tax or a head tax, per head, as we call it per capita, but it's a poll tax, which every person is supposed to pay. And there's a special coin, a special denarius that's struck that had the emperor's face on it. And this was the coin you had to use to pay the poll tax. And the reason poll taxes are usually hated is because it's the same amount for everybody. Everybody has to pay the same. There's no graduated tax structure for any of this. And so if you don't like the emperor or you don't like Rome, you're reminded of that fact because you got to have this coin with the emperor's face on it that you got to give. So Jesus asks them, whose face, whose name, whose image are on the coin? Well, it's the emperor's. So give back to the emperor what belongs to him. It's his coin. It's got his picture on it. Give it to him. What does it matter? But be sure to give to God the things that bear God's image. So think about the money for a minute. Think about whose face is on it. It's all political leaders. It's, George Washington's on it and Lincoln's on it and Jackson and Hamilton and Grant and, all sorts of presidents. And then if you get the presidents that you'd rarely see, like Wilson and some of those, you have bills that almost never get printed. If you've ever been to the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, it's a lot of fun to walk around and see all this stuff. And then on our coins, same thing. Got, political leaders on the coins. Okay, that makes sense. Every country does that. Usually most countries, there's somebody's face on all these different bills and on the coins. And then there's always national symbols. Monuments, the eagle in our case, that's all on the money too. Look at the writing. Usually we have e pluribus unum, out of many, one. Since the 1950s, we put "In God We Trust" on most of the money. The funny part is that got put there for political reasons, not necessarily really for religious ones. And a lot of people would argue, why is this even on the money? When we have scriptures that say we're not supposed to worship both God and money, why would you even put God's name on the money? It's a valid argument. Too often, we have the inclination to make the empire, the earthly kingdoms, all the stuff around us into our ultimate authority. We tend to look at our governments and our political leaders as the highest authority. In some cases, they are. I mean, right now, we're in the middle of a pandemic. And as it stands, our governor has said there's all kinds of businesses that have to close. There's all sorts of industries that need to not operate. We need to be staying home, staying apart from one another. That's part of what we should be doing. And so we follow those rules because that's what we're supposed to do. But the question is, who is our ultimate authority? Our ultimate authority is God. We're supposed to give to God that which belongs to God. Well, whose image are we made in? God's. We're in the image of God. Our highest loyalty belongs to God. As Jesus told us, pay taxes to whoever's on the coin, whoever's on the money, but don't give them the worship and the reverence that belong to God. That's important because there's a big difference between following the rules, which Scripture tells us to do. We're supposed to follow the rules and follow leaders and not create a big mess if we can help it. Now, the time may come when we have to say, no, I can't follow that rule because it goes against everything I believe in. Now, at this point, I have fellow pastors who are debating what should we do if the governor tells us don't meet and another authority says, hey man, go ahead. Who do we follow? And I don't know if I have the best answer. To me right now, the best answer is whatever's going to keep the most number of people safe. That to me seems like the most loving and godly answer I can give. Whatever's going to keep the most people safe. If this virus is still all over, we don't have a vaccine, we don't have a cure, and my coming into contact with someone could kill them, then to me the most loving and Christian thing to do would be to stay home and not go near people as much as I can for as long as I can. I think that's important. So the question of authority, sure, it can change, but not really. It really doesn't, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is whose image is on us. It's God's. We're in God's image, each and every one of us. And that's what we have to honor. That's what we have to worship. That's what we have to revere. Is not our political leaders in our earthly kingdoms, but the image that's imprinted on each and every one of us. So here's a couple of things to think about. Notice the coins, the money in your house. Look at the words and the images and consider how they reflect the gospel or contradict it. And if you have any foreign money, take a look at that too. Where do you place your ultimate loyalty? What things, ideas, or even people are you tempted to put before God? And that can be a big temptation for all of us because God, you can't see. And sometimes God feels very distant. And so it's much easier to put your loyalty and into something that's more earthly. I think we're all tempted to do that. We make idols out of all sorts of things. Up until a couple weeks ago, I viewed this cell phone that I'm recording this on as pretty sketchy one way or the other. I loved it and hated it. But right now, it's one of the few means I have to contact the rest of the world. So right now it's a tool and I'm going to use it. I don't worship it. I don't revere it, but I use it. And I think that's part of what we're trying to get at here is where's your loyalty? Where's your worship? What do you revere? That's what we all have to struggle with and debate with and think about. So I hope you enjoyed this, and there's plenty more of these coming. So I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.